All right, let's talk about reloading and magazine retention for just a minute. This seems to be a really um, complicated, in-depth, reloads have just gotten really crazy. And by crazy, I mean people just get wound up around the axle tighter than a banjo string about reloading your your rifle. Now, for the context of this discussion, let's just go ahead and start this out right now. We're talking about reloading your rifle, be it a AK, AR-15, whatever. Just a modern semi-automatic military type rifle in a catastrophic crap hit the fan situation. Okay? Things have gone to pot. You are at your retreat in the woods. We can even branch this over into an urban situation to an extent. And you are having to fight off whoever. Looters, roving marauders, alien space chickens, whatever. You and your family, friends, survival group are having to defend yourselves and fight things off. Hopefully, you're out in an environment more like this, because it's going to be a heck of a lot easier, generally speaking, than in a more urban area. Okay, not saying that it won't work in an urban area, but I'm just, for the topic of this right here, let's keep it focused on that. Most modern training schools nowadays teach that when your weapon goes dry, or you get a click instead of a bang, well, I don't want to get specific. There's just a lot of things that people teach about how to do reloads. We're going to show you what we like to do, what we found that we prefer, and that we know for a fact does work. It's been tested, tried, proven, and is used in current modern day times in real live two-way conflicts. We know that for a fact. I'll state that. You might not believe it, but we do. Along with this comes the idea of magazine retention. You've got to tie that into our reloads because it's an important point. I'm sorry if some people don't want to admit it or believe it, but these are very, very, very important, guys. I can't stress that enough. Without these, you have a very fancy, very complicated, hard to reload single shot rifle. Okay? Doesn't matter how much ammo you've got stored or anything else. If you don't have these, you have a single shot rifle that's very slow to load and operate. Magazines are very important. I know right now, in modern day, they are disposable items. For the military, they've long been disposable items. Why? Because you just get more of them. The military just calls in resupply. Law enforcement goes to their supply room. Average Joe, you jump on the internet or visit your local gun store and you get more. You've got to start getting out of that line of thought with your preparedness training. Because if you're actually having to do this, you're actually having to shoot people out here and defend and protect your retreat, You're not going to be jumping on the internet to order more of these. You got to hang on to them. Now, you don't hang on to them at the expense of your life. Obviously, there's a time and a place to do a speed reload. There's a time and a place to drop this and forget about it. However, it should not be your primary default go-to option. Your default option needs to be to hang on to this. The secondary option is I ditch it and let it go. If somebody breaks in my house right now and I get into a shootout with them and I have to change magazines, I'm dropping it on the floor. I'm not even going to think about retaining it. Why? Because after it's over with and I'm standing in my house and the coroner's hauled off the piece of crap's lifeless corpse that invaded my house, and the cleanup and carpet and disinfectant crews there mopping up, I'll walk over and pick up my magazine. It's going to be right there. I'm going to be right there. When you're out here and the crap's hit the fan and you're fighting guys, there's a good chance you're not going to be standing still like you are in a confined square range. You're going to be moving. You're going to be shooting and moving. Your teammates are going to be shooting and moving. If you have to leave the area, say you run into an overwhelming force and they're lighting you up, they've got too much firepower, too many of them, outnumbered, whatever, and you got to start booking it. Well, even if you win the fight, there's a really good chance you're not going to just be able to go back to that same area and spend half the day walking around. Where did I drop all my mags at? If you do, I would say that's probably leaning kind of on the stupid side because you just had a big fight there. The people you fought with may be sitting there waiting on you to come back. Hello? You cannot count on being able to go back to the scene of a fight and pick up these magazines in a catastrophic crap it to fan situation. Think about that. Get that in your head. You've got to separate civilized times right now from the crap hit the fan times. They're two completely different arenas. Go to the range and train right now, you drop mags all day long. Leave them on the range all day long. Walk back and get them before you go home. They'll still be there. You'll know exactly where they're at. Out here in that, you start dropping these, you'll be hard pressed to come back and find them after a fight, even if you knew exactly where they were at. So think about it in those terms. Now, when you go to reload, you're in a fight. Well, unlike a lot of modern square range training, you're not going to fight like this. This is how we practice on the range. That's how you practice rifle manipulations or any kind of weapon manipulations. It's how you practice your accuracy, working the controls of the gun, handling the gun, hitting what you want to hit. And that's what you should be doing. But then you've got to separate it when you get out here and you start doing actual training for a fight where you've got other people shooting your direction and the opposite direction. You got incoming and outgoing. It's not just you shooting. Hopefully it's not just you shooting, because if it's just you, I wouldn't be wanting to stay around for a fight long at all. That's why it's so important to have a survival group, family, friends, whatever, and for you guys to train as a team. See our other video about that. Well, I'm not going to stand here and bang, 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 oh, there they are, and start shooting at them. It's going to be bang, 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 oh my gosh, let me get behind something. Cover. We need to get in the habit of fighting from behind cover at every opportunity possible, okay? If not, you're going to get killed really quick. Sorry guys, it's just the way it is. Hit YouTube up and look for all the videos of actual combat over in Afghanistan even. You'll see guys hiding behind stuff that stops bullets. You don't see very many people just standing out in the open shooting away. It's a really good, quick way to get yourself killed. Well, once I'm behind cover and I'm shooting, hopefully my teammates are all behind cover shooting. If I go dry, and this could apply for malfunctions too, but we'll just stick to talking about your gun just goes empty, right? Well, all I gotta do is lean back behind cover, pull that mag out, just stuff it somewhere, grab my next magazine, insert it, boom, and I'm back going. Now, I did that really, really slow. You can speed it up and do it even faster. There's no reason to get wound around the axle about having to do that really rapid speed reload. Why? Number one, I've got cover, something that stops bullets. Number two, I've got my teammates that are shooting as well. They're going to keep people's heads down. That's what this gives me. Behind this cover gives me the opportunity to come back. I can just stuff it behind my chest rig, grab my other mag, boom, and I'm right back in the fight, just like that. Not even a second or two. People seem to want to make out that flak mag pouches, just to add to the equation, and retaining your magazines takes, 5 minutes to do. It doesn't. I'm going really slow right now just for the sake of the video so you can see what I'm doing. You can speed it up quite a bit and still retain that mag. Stuff it behind your chest rig. Stuff it in a pants pocket. Stuff it down your shirt. We used to do that all the time. Just stuff it, keep the top of your shirt open a little bit, just stuff it right inside. It'll stay there, especially, until you move a little bit. But hang on to that magazine. You don't have to try to do the fancy speed reload from back here. Chances are it ain't gonna work because you're not standing in a perfect range stance, okay? Don't mix up CQB tactics for fighting inside your house for out here in the woods. They're two different worlds. Both are applicable, just use them in the right place. Now, obviously, if I'm back here and I'm shooting, and for whatever reason, somehow or another, somebody has managed to get right up on top of me, which I'm hard pressed to figure out a scenario or a situation how they could if I'm sitting here shooting and I've got teammates that are shooting, but it's possible, I'll give it that. Then yeah, if you're here, oh my gosh, drop it. And I didn't even grab that one right out of the pouch. I foobarred that just then. But I still got it reloaded quick, okay? You can do that if the situation dictates it. The problem is, too many people don't seem to want to acknowledge that you can practice both, you can train to do both, and then you let the situation dictate what you do. Your primary default needs to be to hang on to those magazines. So don't get wrapped up and wound around the axle about that. Out here is different than being on a square, flat, open practice range. It's different than being in your house, in a building, even mount to an extent. If you're moving down streets and stuff, you may not have something immediately available to get behind, which changes the situation. Adapt your methods from there. Practice both. Practice doing a speed reload. Practice doing it with retention. Depending on your area, obviously if you're stuck in a city or more urban area, you might end up leaning more towards the speed reload over retaining them. I still say you need to figure out some way at every chance possible to retain them, because you will run out. But you don't do that, obviously, at the expense of getting yourself killed because you're trying to retain your mag while somebody was right up on top of you. That goes into a whole nother situation. You need to try, obviously you can't dictate how things go, but make it so that your tactics and techniques for your team doesn't allow somebody to get right up on top of you. But again, stuff happens. It is what it is. We're not talking about being on a sterile square range here where we have known targets at known distances that aren't moving and aren't shooting back at us and aren't hiding behind things and all that. Because remember, the other guys aren't going to just be walking and running straight up to you either in the broad open. If they are, the same thing's going to happen to them, hopefully, if you have practiced your marksmanship fundamentals. The same thing's going to happen to them is going to happen to you if you do it. They're going to get shot. So think about that. Play these things all the way through in your head. Yeah, it's cooler to do the speed reloads, and yeah, you can be like a high-speed, low-drag, door kicker that's hunting down terrorists and all that kind of good stuff. But that's not what we're talking about here. Time and a place, situation dictates. But think about retaining those magazines, guys. I encourage you to practice doing that. Slow it down. Get to manipulate. It's the same thing we do in martial arts training. You don't just show somebody a technique and then boom, they're just full speed going through it. You practice over and over again, at least the way we do, very slowly. Get the motions right, get the movements right, get the technique right first. The speed will come later. I'd be willing to bet you, if you practice retaining those mags some like that, slowing it down, you'll be surprised how quickly you can actually accomplish it and still retain them. Food for thought. Try it out, see what you think. Talk to you later.